The beach scene is beautiful this morning. It's only the lightest of breezes from the northeast. The conditions are there, and the waves are coming through all the time. Get there if you can.
Nate, have you seen my belt?
Where you left it? Don't forget about dinner.
Right.
Alan, your lunch.
I've been in the CMF for 5 years. It's been a very interesting 5 years. But there are problems on the social side. For a wife, she loses her husband regularly, one weekend a month, at least. You'd be surprised how many people don't even know what the CMF is.
CMF.
What? No idea.
I wouldn't have a clue, why?
Citizens Military Forces.
Citizens Military Forces, isn't it?
Yeah, the military.
Church missionary. What's the last one there? Oh, Commonwealth Military Forces.
Well, isn't it a voluntary organisation where the fellow undergoes weekend training and that sort of thing?
And they go on camps.
As a matter of fact, hardly anybody knows that there is a CMF, let alone a women's part of it.
No, I'm sorry. Oh, it's a medical fund, isn't it?
I was in the CMF, but 50% of it I found was a waste of time, and 50% of it I thought was bullshit.
Shooting onto the close up, about 25 metres. Right. As far as the ammunition, I'll leave you in charge of that.
Ready! Watch your front! Fire!
Targets down. Camp scores, patch out.
Well, a lot of blokes do knock the CMF, but it's like everything else in life. You only get out of it what you put into it.
You wouldn't get better training than this for your outside job or for your personal life anywhere, and what's more, you get paid for it.
You have a lot of messing around and grey coats on, grey coats off sort of thing.
When a soldier's being mucked around, an officer is learning something, and I can't see any basis where we can change this, provided the soldier knows he's going to be mucked around and the reason for it.
It's a very effective means of training. It is part-time and consequently takes longer to reach a similar standard.
A country the size of Australia can't really support and pay for the sort of standing army that we may require in the next 20 to 30 years. There has to be a civilian component.
As a journalist specialising in Far Eastern affairs, I don't regard the CMF as an effective fighting force. I don't think that's its role at all. I see it as a platform on which we can build quickly and effectively in the event of an emergency.
For the CMF soldier, his local depot is a pretty important part of his army life. The buildings themselves vary a lot. None are very glamorous. There's something about them, a sense of atmosphere, of tradition. It seems to pervade them even when there's no one there.
Stand easy. Stand easy. The allocation for tonight's work will be as follows. One troop will report to the CIM.
And the rate of fire, 425 to 450 rounds per minute. What is the weight of the weapon? Corporal Dodds. Yes, you.
What do you want? Okay, well, I want those 4 125 sets fitted to the APCs. Okay, John. Cheers now.
At every CMF unit, there is a small, regular Army cadre staff. Our job is to assist and advise the CMF in training. We also provide continuity in administration,
Right now, the place is rather empty, but later on tonight, it'll be a different story.
A turn. Hunt! Tonight! Aye! And your name.
Hold it. Okay, Ken, try it.
Okay.
It's important that as junior leaders you're able to recognise the signs that indicate the standard of leadership within a unit. They are morale, discipline, technical efficiency. What are some of the indications of morale within a CMF unit?
Okay, Ken, start that.
Chain wire fence and padlocked gate, one drill hole plain and bare. 10 dog boxes in a row, an armory 12-foot square. Notice board with last month's news, asphalt and noisy feet. Memories of Dad's own war, the place the blokes all meet. Don't ask me why I stick it, this bloody CMF. There's got to be a reason that makes a bit of sense. Turning up each Thursday night, keep coming back for more. Do I really think I'm going to fight some rotten war?
People do get the idea that because you're in the CMF, you're a rabid militarist.
Well, I'm afraid you've only got to look at history and look at man himself and have a look. We've had wars for as long as man can remember, and I think we're just going to keep on having them.
Since the Vietnam involvement, we've had a bit of reaction from the public, rather aggressive in some cases, particularly when you're driving on the roads. They're cutting in front of you, they shake their fist at you, some make rude gestures. It is a little bit disconcerting.
Well, being in the army today just isn't really the in thing. You're really the radical. Everybody else is doing a little pacifist sort of scene.
We are more dependent on our own resources now than we've ever been at any time in the past. We don't have great and powerful friends on whom we can automatically rely as we did in the First and Second World Wars. We have to depend on our own resources. We are a small and significant power in Southeast Asia, or we can be, and if we intend to play that role, then we have to have defence forces to match, not as a means of waging war against our neighbours, but merely to speak with some authority.
Well, I think it's basically that people think when you're in the CMF you're a different kind of human being, a different nationality.
Lock the device.
Most definitely that I wouldn't have the present position that I've got now without the experience that I've learned through my career in the CMF. The Army teaches you a lot of things. For instance, organisation. Organisation not only of yourself as an individual, but the ability to be able to organise other people. It also teaches you man management, not just the issuing of orders and getting people to obey them, but how to get people to do things to the best of their ability.
Yes, got that. Thank you. Goodbye.
Well, what's this application to go away into camp with the CMF? What are you, a soldier or something?
Yes, Mr. Johnson.
Well, you know how we're placed in the factory at the moment. We're absolutely flat out, and I just don't see how we can spare you to go away playing soldiers.
In a small business such as this, where we have up to about 8 men, a couple of men in the CMF does create a big problem.
We are very much in favour of the CMF as being a worthwhile training ground for our young men.
Fellows in private enterprise have a pretty hard time getting to camp, if they get there at all. But whereas with the government, well, there's no trouble at all. They make up your pay or they give you full wages.
It's not just the private employer. I work for the government, and I've had to practically read the Defence Act to them on several occasions to get away on camps.
It is a very great problem, although I am for the CMF.
It's not very convenient for any employer.
I think a lot of the trouble that our blokes have in getting time off is due to the fact that their employers don't know what they really do in the Army.
The advantage here to the young officer is, of course, he gets an opportunity to gain executive experience before he normally would in his normal place of employment. The big thing about the Army is that when he's given the task, he's got to complete it right from the planning stage to the execution stage. In the big company, he wouldn't get this opportunity until he's many years older.
Well, I think that the Army training, the military atmosphere, makes you better equipped for your civilian occupation. It's easier to accept responsibility and cope with crises.
They, for instance, get a new experience which they wouldn't get in the institution itself. This must lead to a widening of their outlook, avoidance of mental inbreeding. These young men, I think, come back healthier. They come back with a sense of discipline, the art of living together with other people, respecting other people's rights.
Well, it is a cheap form of executive training.
I find the most effective method to persuade an employer to give a man time off is to write to the employer and point out exactly what the scope of the man's duties are and what his responsibilities are. It makes them think again. They look over there at Jones in the corner and think, well, if he does all this for the Army, maybe we can get a bit more out of him ourselves.
Well, all right, Alan. I'll approve it this time. But I think you have to make up your own mind which is the more important. Your career with this organisation or your soldiering.
Everything's squared away. Good.
Okay, Stano, you got me?
Yeah, gotcha.
Well, let's check the thing out.
Yes, right for the big attack.
Yeah, no problem. I see you have this map being set up there. Yeah, it's well done.
Had a bit of trouble with the 30 cals, but they're being fixed up by the boys now.
Okay,
They'll be right to go. You want a brew, sir?
Oh, yes, thanks.
Brew ready there, pal?
Yeah.
Thanks, Ron.
Alan, over the next couple of days, I intend exercising your troop, stressing particularly reconnaissance. Enemy activity represented by ferret scout cars, supported by infantry, have been reported north of Patterson.
Okay, Ken, I'm going to prepare my orders. Will you check vehicles ready to move, POL, rations and ammo?
Roger.
Ken, will you warn the crew commanders out? Orders 0700 tomorrow. Will do.
OK, Brent, let's go.
All stations 1-2. This is 1-2. Contact armoured vehicles. Wait out.
Why am I in the CMF? Well, that's almost impossible to answer. I just wanted to improve myself, I think.
Oh, I don't know. Bit of excitement, a bit of money.
Something to do.
It's a complete change of atmosphere from civilian life, mainly.
Oh, and you want to meet new friends and a bit of adventure.
Just get away from the rat race every now and again.
I'd get away from the old woman for a weekend.
Management experience, physical training, and physical extension of your ability.
You got a lot of mates? You make a lot of mates down there? I get a lot of personal satisfaction out of it because I feel I'm doing something with my time, otherwise I'd just be down a pub. Well, firstly, I think because of my experience, I'm duty-bound to do so, and secondly, I think it's a damn good paying hobby.
It's tax-free money.
Certainly it's not the money, because while I'm here, I've got to pay other people to do my work for me, and I'm losing.
I really don't know. I'm in the CMF because I remained there after being taken into national service in 1954-55. And at the beginning, I was quite opposed to joining the army. As a matter of fact, I was upset about it.
I don't know why I stick it, this bloody CMF. There's got to be a reason that makes a bit of sense. It isn't 'cause of the money I get sent each half year. It doesn't mean much to me, though it keeps a man in beer. It isn't love of country, though I think my country's beaut, nor a taste for death and glory, or polish in my boots. It's not because I'm lonely, it's not because I'm bored, that I leave my wife and family, take time I can't afford. That keeps me in on weekends when the surf is running high. That keeps me out on weekends when you are home and dry. I don't know why I like it, I must be off my head, but the CMF's got something when all is done and said. After sweating out your guts all day without a rest, you sit around the fire at night, they're the mates I like the best. And the cold night air comes creeping, and you stare into the fire, and you finish swapping stories, still you stare into the fire.
Yes, darling.